Ooh, I think it's
Whoa,
happening. Oh, I just like,
whoa.
wait a minute.
Is it really
There I
going?
am.
I can't tell.
No, we're meeting is now streaming live on custom. Yep.
Oh
Whoa, 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 whoa,
man.
whoa.
Oh.
Ah,
Welcome,
this is going to be
folks.
a good show.
Louder. I know.
Ooh.
Welcome, folks. Anybody that was trying to find us, we were trying to find us ourselves. We needed technical help. And we got it from
We,
our
we
our
called
good.
IT. We called IT.
We did. It's called Mr. Jeff, and
Yep.
yeah, Pied Piper
The
came
pipe
on.
is out there.
Woo!
So good.
Yes,
So, bro,
yes, sir.
so I thought we had a good launching when you were talking about back in the day.
Back in the day.
And so um when the spirit was moving and the prophetic and all that kind of stuff, obviously we're in a different season. And
Hmm.
so, I think some really cool things are coming. I
I
think
did.
a lot of religious are going to get their feathers ruffled a little bit, and that's okay. We're all on the same side. So, if you need a hug, just come to above the sun.
Right.
We're full of hugs. We try to keep it real, stay in the funny. And but where do you think in the days ahead? Obviously, a lot of crazy stuff going on below the sun, but if you kind of see in between the lines, a lot of things are being opened up.
Hmm.
Eyes are being open, ears are hearing things different. You
Yeah.
know, when we know better, we do better. Ideally, you want everybody on the planet to be their own self-sovereign, independent thinkers,
Yeah.
listening to their intuition, all that kind of good stuff, right? But where do you think we are as I would say mature sons? Because I think one of the things when you were talking about back in the day, Toronto, Brownsville, all of that kind of stuff, over the years, we've seen some immaturity. We've never been down this road. I would see some things that's like, what's going on there?
Right.
But I think we're in a different place. I think there's a lot of mature ones. We muck up just like anybody else, so we're not having a go at anybody. But I think mature ones seem to keep short accounts, as Sir Ian would say.
Yes.
Boston C likes to say, just take out your own trash daily.
Woo.
But where do you think we are? As having the charisma, the line, you talked about somebody's got to go first. Because when we were talking about worship, and like you being a musician, it'd be like, people want to raise their hands, but they would have a hard time because maybe they were more of an introvert. Maybe they're wired like that. But somebody's got to get out of his chair and go down front. And so, like you, I was that guy.
Yeah.
But I would just go down and just, either just, you're going to go down and bend the knee and just get into a worship type of deal and just close your eyes. And it didn't matter what was going on around you. And
Hmm.
you were the only one there. But that you're going to light a flame. And 10 minutes later, eyes are going to open. You're going to see 50, 100 people wherever you're at. So there is something to be said about the pioneers. And I think we love doing that. We love being the contrarian,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Where everybody is, the two of us aren't going to be there. We're going to be the crazy ones over there in the corner. So yeah. So where do you think we are, bro? And where are we headed in the days ahead? It's all good, but what's your perspective? What's the Lord showing?
My perspective, or at least what I'm feeling. So let me just backtrack about a week ago. I've had some really good. Actually, let me backtrack towards the end of summer when I was in Wyoming and I was at a it's a gathering out in the middle of LaBarge, Wyoming, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, 430 people population, and there's this hot spot that people show up. We've been since I think 2011, and people just show up from different spots, and it's just an awesome time. But so since we've been going at this for the last about 6 years, 2018, 2017, 2016, when the shift started happening, 2012, some people say. Um, I, it was just like all these titles and positions and everything for me started to define itself, but also to fall off. And so when people started talking about mantles and whatnot, I was kind of in a moment of what the heck do I do with all these? You know what I mean? And I people for me, this is for me personally, I'd be called a mystic, a seer, a prophet, and I'd walk in those mantles or whatever you call it. And so when this whole thing happened and we started getting these teachings from Ian Clayton and from Justin Abraham and Chris Blackaby and whatnot, for me personally, it brought a lot of confusion to me. Like, what do we do? Am I supposed to walk in this still? Do I keep it? Do I throw it off? Do I, my identity, some of my identity is wrapped in that, even though sonship had been such a huge part of I mean, we're all sons, but I guess the maturing process hadn't totally, we're all still maturing, but
Right.
just back then there was a little bit of, immaturity still left. And so holding on to those was just like, oh my gosh, this is what we do and how we go about it. So about 3 years ago, maybe it was when Billy Graham passed away, actually. And for some reason, normally, in the old, we would when somebody passed away or somebody, a father that we would take the Elisha approach and go, I want that mantle, and we'd go and pick it up and and all that. And so that was just part of my what we did. And I don't think that was wrong, because I think the hunger should be there, and just the what people carry. We want these things, especially if you're just going after going after them. And so, but during that time, I just felt like I was supposed to put them down. So I just kind of didn't know how to do it, but except for going on the sea of glass, going in and just kind of giving them to Yeshua and saying, here, you can have these. And so I did. And it felt weird. And it was really weird because I mean, being a seer, I would see all these things. Well, all of a sudden, a lot of my sight and everything kind of went. I wasn't seeing the angelic realm. I wasn't seeing, the communication the way that I was used to. And so it felt really weird. It felt like I had done the wrong thing.
Hmm.
And so I ended up, my journey has been, you know, since then, don't necessarily need those. I can we learn to think for ourselves, and it's really helped with this group and with others being in these different groups, um, learning and teaching and being a very this has been a very teachable season for all of us. And
Right.
I think that is really a sign of maturity, is obviously when you can sit, and be taught instead of, because for me for me, I was the teacher a lot of times, or one that was just kind of leading the charge. And so stepping back and having others lead and being, was difficult at times. But so coming up to this summer, I started getting words, and the prophetic was like, okay, we don't need those anymore. We don't need to hear about those prophetic words. We can go in and get the word of the Lord from the Father, and not have to rely on the pastor, teacher, prophet, and all that for the words. For me, that was real freeing, to be honest. It was just like, that took a lot of angst out of having to go to all these different meetings or whatever, even though I love those. But that was, where I was at. But I love going to the meetings and I love the energy and I love when you get those words. But whenever I would get those words, I would kind of just write them down and put them aside. Well, this time around, I just felt like some of it was just different. It felt like I was in a different place. I'd walked into a different room, so to speak. And when they gave these words to me, it was just like, they were the Father like speaking to me like, this is all the stuff that you've learned. You don't have to try to find your purpose. You don't have to try to find your identity. You basically have found yourself, so to speak, and now it's
Mm.
time for you to share and to give back the way that, it's almost like when Jesus, the Father and Jesus, and the Father said, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased, in
Mm.
all this. That's kind of the shift, even though I know that that's always been, I mean, but it's just really felt that way. And so I mean, is that how it kind of feels for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah. So about a week ago, maybe, yeah, my brother who does a lot of traveling and he has his own businesses and whatnot. Him and I we used to speak every week almost. And over the years, it's gotten less and less because he travels so much and has his own things going on. And so we don't have an appointed time. you know, a lot of times he'll call me on his way to the store or something. It's always in the car, and so it's short and sweet, 15 minutes or whatever. And then, it's just like, okay, we'll see you. So we had that phone call, and so he's like basically walking it back into the house, and he goes, this is just like, my brother doesn't give me words very often. Um, or flippantly, I should say.
Mm.
And so when he was walking and he sees things, and he's walking and he goes, "Oh," I mean, interrupted the whole conversation. Like we're talking, and he's like, "Oh, I see." This literally, he goes, "I see one of your mantles that you dropped a while back,"
Mm.
and he goes, "And the Father wants you to pick it up again."
Mm.
And it felt, I mean, it just was like, oh, okay, I need to do that. And it was just, it was like, okay, my mind went, okay, I thought I had, but it was, so this mantle, I liked what my brother said. He goes, you need to pick it up, but you need to dust it off
Mm.
because how you used it in the past, that's not how the Father's wanting you to use it anymore.
Right.
So he was just like, but he goes, it is that time where you need to strike the ground with it, but you don't want to strike the ground with the old mindset. You want to do
Mm.
it
That's good.
with it as a mature son, walk into maturity and how you want to do it. And so I, and he gave me bunch of other stuff too. And you know, he was the cool thing he was saying, the Father wants you, because this is a glory mantle.
Hmm.
It has to do with worship. And he was just like, you, it's not a you mantle, it's a you and them mantle together.
That's good.
And he goes, there are people that you are with right now that you're going to be partnering with. But I like what my brother said. He goes, the Father's not wanting to change you. So you be you,
Right.
but he wants you to partner with those that can teach and that can show what's going on. He goes, I'm a seer. So he goes, you see all these things. You are too. And so we see all these things, we feel all of these things. We may not have the explanation for what's going on,
Right.
but it's just like we're just like picture opens up and it's like, oh my God, all these things going on. And but then there has to be, so this is what I'm talking about as far as your question is, where are we going from here? So there is a saying that people still say that, you know, don't stay here because you won't be any, you know, good here. So what's the saying? Uh, if you're always in heaven, you won't be of any earthly good. So don't
Right.
stay here. That is, we gotta get rid of that.
Right.
That's a lower revelation. That's something that used to be good in the past, but I guess as mature, you know, as you mature, you begin to realize that you we have to stay above the sun. We have to live above the sun in
Right.
order to be of any earthly good. You have to.
Right. Right.
And so I think that is where we're at. It
Hmm.
We need to be here, be who we are. And I guess I'm talking about those that are mature, not, got to be very careful how I say this. Those that have been in it for a while and are foreseeing and forerunning this and for this, because not everybody, like us before, it takes those. We've been out here a little ways. Everybody else is still sitting and watching, waiting. And so it's our turn to actually, you know, not only we've been leading the charge, but now turn towards them
Hmm.
and shepherd, father
Hmm.
would be the better word, father it in a
Hmm.
healthy way, not
That's good.
us and not us up here then. No, we're doing this together.
That's
We
good.
want you to experience this together with us. Let me show you, if I need to hold your hand a little bit, you know, and so you can have the confidence to be able to, you know, yeah, what you're seeing is real, dude. What you're experiencing is real.
Right.
You know, and I feel like, and this is for the church. Um, I know the world people, I mean, sons, you know, that aren't part of the church feel this stuff, but they don't have that a lot of, they just don't have that religious stuff that,
Right.
you know, that we've been puking on them for you know, years and years and years. So um they don't need the permission. They just come in and go, you know. Whereas the body of Christ, as you know, the church body has, they haven't had the permission. They've
Hmm.
had the permission to do this and do this, but you can't do this and you can't talk about this.
Hmm.
Now it's just like there's so much um you know, topics and, you know, what the Father's wanting to share and do through his sons, that I think that creation's crying out. And you just, I mean, there's going to be a lot of unexplainables, except
Right.
for it's the goodness
Right.
of God.
Right.
You know, the
Right.
whole point of this whole thing is it's not about us, it's about him anyway. It's about
Right.
the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that,
Right.
you know, I mean, that's the whole deal. And so if we can, you know, I just feel like there's going to be just a shift in that, in this, in the sphere and everything. And so for me, it was just like, and I guess for me, a lot of those that have been walking through this stuff, and we've laid a lot down in this past season. The Father is wanting us to pick back up those mantles, those assignments, with a different mindset,
It's good.
a different way of seeing and doing things, because it's not about us. It's about going about our Father's business. It's
Hmm.
about His kingdom and ruling and reigning instead of trying to promote our own selves. So
Yeah, it's Jeff asked the team for all of us to kind of think about our unique perspective on what it means to live above the sun.
yeah,
And so I think you nailed it. Because like you, one of the things, we have a voracious appetite to be in the know of what Big Love is up to, reading the latest books, following the latest voices, but that's part of Above the Sun and what we do. One of the things that we would learn is to go up and down. Okay,
yeah,
right, and we can talk practically what that looks like, and everybody has a different perspective, story. What is it like going up and down? And to me, it just speaks to realizing that you're a spirit that has a soul that lives in a body. You have this self-awareness of where you are in relationship with Big Love. Your faith in Papa, Jesus, Ruach, the whole deal. And in the soul realm is where all the conflict is, right? Where, and we know that we have the mind of our brother, but yet we still wrestle, right? So, and then in our physical bodies. And then here we are walking it out below the sun. So what does that look like when we're going up and down? And it seems like we've been going up and down for a while. And then Nancy Cohen said about 2 months ago, got a chance to see Justin. And wait a minute, well, I got it right here. Justin Paul Abraham, Beyond Human. Get the book. Read the book. Get the book. So it was great seeing him. But Nancy talked about, hey, when we go up above the sun, why are we coming back down? Mm-hmm. And this is the maturity that we talk about. This is the thing of changing, rewiring your brain to say, hey, so wait a minute. So, Papa, so I can stay up here next to your right hand, under the shadow of your wings.
right.
I'm already in you. You're in me. It's happening. Why am I going, hey, listen, I got to get out of here, Lord. I'll be back later. And then you go down.
Yeah.
And then who went down? So your higher self, your spirit, we're already in heavenly places.
Exactly.
So we need to firm up in maturity and get a hold of that revelation that and this starts to tap into what does it mean to live above the sun? And this is what I think we're starting to crack open. We're not denying anything of what's happening here below the sun because our physical bodies are here below the sun. And we're walking out. We're in tune that we're in two places at one time.
Yep. Come on.
So, we have to stay seated. Get your secrets, your mysteries, your love relationship. Okay. And then you descend below the sun, but you're still in an ascended state. You're in two places at one time. So as you and I are riffing, right?
Yep.
I see you on the sea of glass. See you, bro. Cause I'm right there next to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
We got hops. Dude, it's a fire. It's everywhere. But we're not burning up, dude. This is awesome.
Yep.
Do you see the throne? I do. And so that to me is, I think, a shift. That's, I think, starting to tap into that. We don't, and of course, we are Jacob's ladder, we are portals, we are the door, all of that, right? The everlasting doors, all of that. What I want to learn is how do we walk it out with the awareness that we're in him, under the shadow of his wings, occupying, living out of his right hand, where all the abundance is. And then how to practically, here below the sun, with all of the quantum entanglements we have, the assignments, the engagements that come out of nowhere, right? And how do we do all that as we're mature ones above the sun?
Right.
And that's, I think that's the journey. And I know that we're honored to take on the responsibility, because somebody's got to step forward and say, hey, I'm willing to try to model it the best I can out of my own unique experiences. But we also need revelation that we have our own mantles. We're different personalities. We're good at some things, maybe not so much, but that's the beauty, the tapestry of mature ones, as we're starting to be confident in who we are, because we are living above the sun. And practically, as we love big love, we're practicing loving big here below the sun. And that's the key. That's the key. The planet needs to see demonstrated what big love and how he is loving his children. And there's over 8 billion of us. And there's a small portion that are really, really naughty. And you're concretely bad all the time. Okay. And Papa is dealing with all of that, because he's dealing with any malevolence or corruption that could be in this body, and thought patterns, and and so it's fascinating. And it's fascinating when we tap into spiritually some of this technology of making good choices, deciding that in our goodness, I want to learn how to be kind and doing good things, not trying to beat people up and win arguments, and don't get so triggered so easily, and all of those things. And yet don't beat yourself up and live in shame, and just all of that dynamic. It's fascinating. And the fact that we just get to be uniquely, bro, man, Boston C gets to just be, but what you see is what you get, But welcome to the buffet table. Take what you like, spit out the bones, and just love big love and practice loving big. And to me, that's as simple as it is. But yeah. And I love the fact of when you talked about the father. We have a good dad. He's a good dad. He's a good dad. And so I would encourage anybody, and this is just Boston C talking to himself. I determined, and I like to joke that things changed in 2020. We're in season 5 now. It's the month of September. This is episode 9. And if you follow Boston C on X, and if you don't, that's okay. You can stay on the platform that you're on, because everything is going to be shifting. Who knows where we're going to be in 3-5 years? But do we still trust Papa? Are we still going to trust Papa? With November coming up? Are you occupying your brain, red, blue, left, right, getting tripped up with what's going on in the economy and how it's impacting us? Yep, we're all in this together. 8 billion companions are all going through something together. our own unique stories, good, bad, and different, whatever they are. But everything that's happening is real. But it's not all of the real, because the veil is getting thinner between the seen and unseen. And I just realized just how important it is for all of us to work on our boning up on our religion. Yeah. How about love? How about that religion? You know, and work on your character, because everything in the days ahead is going to be about character and who we choose to be. And what the good news is, big love, there's nothing that we can do to get Yahweh to love us more than he already does, right? That's a true story. So if that's true, there's nothing that we can do that's going to separate us from that love.
Right.
However, because of the technology of free will and free choice, benevolent and malevolent intentionality coexist. So our unique choices, our future comes to us out of the choices that we're making. So you can function on multiple timelines, right? What's the electron going to do? What's Boston C going to do? Is he going to is the electrons with this thing that just came in and around his family? What's he going to do? We don't know what Boston C is going to do yet. Is he going to spin up or spin down? Yeah, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean into Papa, who's going to help get through this next 2-3 months, whether there is an election, whether it goes the way you want it to go or it don't go. Are we going to love Papa any less? No. Might not be happy if things don't go down the way I think they should go down. But you know what? I'm going to continue to work on not getting triggered by all the things that are happening below the sun that I don't necessarily agree with. But that doesn't mean that I don't lean in and call things out. You know, when we see the malevolence and the corruption, we have the opportunity to say, Lord, that's not right. And everybody's perspective on what's right or what is different. So whatever is passionate in your heart, it could be child trafficking. If you're constantly hearing that, the Lord is letting you know that is an area that you have authority in. Now come into me and let's work on that together and watch what happens and how I do what I do and how I use you as well with what I do through you, in and around you. I mean, that's amazing that we get to co-labor. Is that what the term is? So, yeah. Mm.
It's good.
Ooh, man, that's meaty.
It is. Yeah. Yep. I saw a picture as you were talking earlier about the mantles and whatnot, and those of us that grew up with Mr. Rogers
Mm,
in his neighborhood.
sure.
So, what did he do when he would come in? So, he always had a sweater on. So, let's just picture that as your mantle. So, he would go in, he'd go into the closet,
Right.
would grab
Right.
the sweater on. Then he would sit down, take off his pair of shoes, and put on
Right.
his other shoes or his slippers,
Right.
close the door, and he would be singing the whole time, a lot of
Right.
time. And then he would go to the fish tank and feed the fish. Either
Hmm.
that, or if this might have been when he was leaving, he would go and feed the fish. So there was a routine that he did, but in the midst of all that, it was all about Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, and we know that he was a believer, he was a son, and so there was a lot of parables in his stories every day.
Yeah.
But I liked how he would, at the end, he'd get back, sing, grab his shoes, open the closet, put it in, take off the sweater, and put whatever he was going, and then, open the door and head out.
You know who the modern day Mr. Rogers is? It's Justin. Get the book,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
He's got that Joy Fest thing going on. And it's, yeah.
Won't you be my neighbor? Yeah. Yeah. So, I think it's a great example of, we have our times and moments that we put the shoes on, and we slip things on, we put the mantles on, the sweater, the things we use, and we go about Father's business. But then when it's time for us to leave and go, it's a great example of, all right, we're putting it back where it came from in the closet, our shoes there for another day when we are called to it.
Yeah.
So as far as a picture for me, it was just like, that's a really good, and then it's just like, won't you be my neighbor? That's the whole thing. Those are the quantum entanglements that's the QRST. And that
Yeah.
that was a great example of
Yep.
QRST. Every day he'd go into different realms
Yep.
every day, talk
That's
to
good.
different people every day on his journey, and encounters, and then at the end of his day, he always sat on the bench or in his chair. It was just like there was always that, yes, we're seated.
Mm.
We're in our seat of rest. That's what it always felt like with him. He just carried such a peace, and just, but it was a bold, peace, and of course it was for the kids. So it was just like the kingdom of heaven as a child. And so use your imagination. It was all about going the train, going into the choo 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 choo,
Right.
into the land of, the imagination. And so
So, how do you balance that state of being with everything that's happening here below the sun? What are the, I don't know, one, two, three things you do? As you're seated in heavenly places, but you're trying to be earthly good.
right. Well, I mean, thankfulness is such a key. Staying in the joy of the Lord, staying with a thankful heart, waking up and just starting my day with that.
That's great. That's
Um,
good.
get good sleep. Um, that really helps. Um, go to bed at a decent hour, and not be on your phone right before you go to bed, because you take a lot of that stuff with you as you go off into la la land. And it's really not la la, it is dreamland, but it's really, you're going into your subconscious and going into, a deeper sense of who you are. And I think a lot of times the subconscious is really who you are. So your dreams inside of you, what you're having, define a lot
Hmm.
of how you operate during the day, even though we don't see it that way. But I mean, as of late, my dreams are really changing, and so it's just been really just bizarre, actually. Um, but I've been intentionally, I think that's another thing, be intentional. You reap what you sow. That's a true deal. And if we're going and sowing, you know, nonsense, and you're going to get nonsense, whether you believe that or not. So I want to sow intentionally, knowing that I'm going to reap a harvest of 30, 60, 100 fold. Hopefully on the 100 fold, that's my intention is. So I'm going there more intentionally instead of just living, which I can do very well. But I want to live intentional. And so that's where I'm at right now. It's just like when I can tell when I get angst, when I start getting angst and anxious and just kind of biting back at my wife a little bit or whatever, I'm like, okay, what have I been watching? What have I been listening to? You
Hmm.
know, who have and so when I do that, I know I need to pull back. I'm like, you know what, I can't be watching those things. I can't go on the reels, whatever, get lost in the some of those things.
Hmm.
Just gotta center myself back in Yeshua. It's like, okay, my half my butt cheek was not on the seat. I need to get myself fully back on
Right. Right.
and get myself comfortable in there. And because it is a ride, and it's not just, I mean, yeah, the political atmosphere is crazy, and for us in the States, it's a big deal. We feel like wherever the United States goes, the rest of the world kind of goes. And I think that that's in a sense where it's been, because a puzzle piece is in the puzzle but when one thing's shaken, everything's shaken. And I think that's where we're at right now, is the shaking's happening. And so we're feeling the unstableness of everything. And so, but if we're on the seat,
Yes.
it
Yes.
has that gyro thing where
Yes.
Yeshua, where it keeps us. We may be feeling it, but we're still in
True story. That's good.
we're still balanced in that way. So
That's great. That's good. That's maturity.
yeah, yeah. Not getting caught and not getting bent out of shape so much like we used to, you know. Because I think if we just pop off, our voice, it becomes just noise. But if we're in there and then all of a sudden we're called to speak, and
Hmm.
then, then our voice carries so much more weight, because we're in that still place. We've been able to maintain a peace,
Right.
we've been able to stay in our place of, rest, and then we can talk from wisdom, and and be able to, I think our words are going to be way more powerful that way. you know I was talking to Pied Piper about that yesterday, because he's doing some changes with his Segula Studios and whatnot. Some really cool things that the father is doing, and was just really encouraging him to press into what the father is sharing with him right now. And some of it is, and we've had these conversations like, why are we out here? Why are we doing YouTube? Why are we doing Facebook Live? Why are we doing all these things? Because everybody else is doing it, and da 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 da. And, you know, but the Father is setting us up because a lot of chaos is happening. But if we can maintain just being that solid person that we are, after a while, people are going to pay attention to the ones that aren't rocking, but that are focused. And they're going to go, those are the ones that we need to hear. We don't need to hear all the other stuff that's going on. We need we need the sword of the Spirit right now that cuts and divides, and gets us to the breakthroughs we need, and whatnot. And that's where creation is crying out for. That's really, what's happening. So we just need to continue to be going after that, and let the Father just do what he's doing with each one of us. And yeah, there's going to be different voices at times, being the voice of out there, but we just stay on our place and don't worry about all that stuff, because we'll have our own, you
Well,
know.
Paul, didn't you hear about the ministry? What happened last week? And what about that ministry last month? And yeah, hmm.
I know. Yep, 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 yep. And that's the thing, is we don't celebrate
Hmm,
the ones that fall.
hmm, hmm.
We we be very careful how we speak, especially in the public realm. But even in the whispers in the hallways, we're very careful. Yeah,
It's always been important. I think in the days ahead, it's high alert. And
yeah,
as Sir Ian would say, keep short accounts.
yeah,
Strive to thrive in your own lane
yep,
and take out your own trash daily.
yeah.
Stop, stop judge. You can see, you can observe and make a judgment because you're confident in
Mhm.
who's judging you in the relationship that you have. That's where the judgment comes out of. And it's got four faces, right?
Yeah,
Love, justice, judgment, grace, and mercy.
yeah,
And it's
exactly.
all flowing across 8 billion people, seeing who's going to spin up and whose electrons are going to spin down.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't, and this is the beauty of staying in rest. And I know we're getting on the top of the hour. Um, Big Love does not want us to make outcomes happen. He wants us to be in a love relationship, to be authentic in that relationship,
hmm,
get your identity in him.
yeah,
What are you imagining? What do you desire? What are you intending for? And then in faith and the staying power, just keep going.
yeah, yep,
And your future will come to you. Papa will bring the outcomes, the desired outcomes that we all want for each other.
yep. That's good.
Yeah, so important. So important. You know, and mercy and goodness follow us all the days of our lives. Mercy, cassette, is
Yeah,
kindness. And I'm just learning that you, I can do a lot of good things, and they are good things. But I'm just realizing if it's not done in kindness, like you said, when you speak, you might speak a word and what you're speaking, but the frequency behind the word is you're doing more harm than good because it's not going through the filter of his love.
yeah, yeah,
And the fact that, so, you know, some of the things that I think we're all doing, I think we just need to, you know, that be lion hearted, this fearlessness, this tenacity that we're with the dog with the bone. We're not giving up the bone. We're not giving up the revelation of truth, the
yeah,
awareness, the responsibility and the opportunity to have authority, to speak some things,
oh,
to break off some things. Wow, what an amazing opportunity.
yeah, it's really
Yeah, so good, bro. Well, give us some final good word, bro, before we sign off. And I know we'll keep going and we'll go back in the green room.
I I get, my thoughts are, the Father's going to give you the desires of your heart. Just let him do it. Spend time having conversations with him. Let him love on you. Let his voice of many waters just pour over you. And, let Yeshua just, I mean, hang out with your brother. Get to know your brother. get to know him, and Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, just let your body, your physical body, become his temple in everything. And, don't walk in shame and condemnation if you're struggling, man. That's the big deal that keeps us stuck. And realize that you have permission to be you. We're not robots, and that's what AI wants us to be, is the robots, and that's not us. So be real, because when you're real, that's when real things happen, and that's the reality. So I would just say that, and keep the love on and enjoy. That's my thing. Enjoy who you are and who you're around. So
Enjoyed it, bro. This was good, man. Yeah,
spread
we need to do this again. Who needs the other three?
I know.
Who are they? You're all fired. No. It's just,
We love you all.
yeah, it's all good. We have fun. ATS. We love each other. We've been doing life for a few years now. So, and again, we're eternal beings. So, we just had to fess up that we're going to be spending a lot of time together. So we got to get used to each other.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, we love you all.